Diabetes Care and Education Specialist at The Ohio State University Wexner Medical Center every second and fourth Tuesday of the month. I join Chef Mike Carnahan and Cameron Stauffer, who's behind the scenes today, to bring you diabetes-friendly cooking demo. Today in Columbus, Ohio, it is a little chilly and rainy and gray, and you might be wanting some comfort food. The comfort food typically means lots of carbs and raised blood sugar. So we're going to put a healthy spin on comfort food. And today, Mike is going to show us how to make the elusive spaghetti squash.
It's not that elusive. It's always there.
The thing is that I have not been able to make a spaghetti squash that makes me want to make another spaghetti squash because it's always mushy. I don't get these beautiful strands of spaghetti.
Well, I think you have to appreciate it for what it is. I mean, it's not going to be spaghetti, but it's close.
Right.
I mean, it is a great carb option,
Yeah.
lower carb option. It still has carbs, but a lower carb option.
And super good point.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of times people are looking for substitutions. I love spaghetti, but it's so high in carb or it's whatever, and I want to find a substitution for that. Well, you're not gonna, right?
It's
I'm
hard,
not gonna.
yeah.
If I want spaghetti squash, I'm going to appreciate for what it is. And
Right.
if I want spaghetti, so real pasta, then I'm going to watch my portions and what I have with that heavy carb pasta so that I can balance my blood sugar. So today we've got the elusive spaghetti squash. And I'm going to be working on a chopped salad that's going to go with this, and also a mushroom marinara. I love mushrooms. I love anything Italian. So this really speaks to me on a chilly day. Now before we get to the end of all this, we're going to talk about where's the protein and what can we do if this isn't a meal that suits you for the day and you need some protein in it. But you could do the spaghetti squash and the marinara as a side dish. You could do it as a main and add some protein. And then you can always have this chopped salad. So you're going to start us off.
There's some protein in the beans. We're doing a chopped salad with some beans.
That's right. There's some beans in there.
And we could add beans to this marinara if we wanted to, or another protein on top.
Okay. But a really great plant-based meal that you put together.
Very
I can't
nice,
wait
yes.
to taste it.
Meatless Monday. Perfect for that.
On a Tuesday.
On a Tuesday.
Here we go.
All right, so here we go. So we have our elusive spaghetti squash, and we're going to start out by just getting this in the oven. And I found that's probably the best way to do this. Some people actually cut it in half and boil it, but it doesn't seem to get all the strands the way that I like them, or separated. Some are overcooked, some are undercooked. Some people actually pop this in a microwave to loosen up the skin if you're not that talented in cutting the skin, or your knife is not that sharp. So there's a couple ways you could do that. So what I'm going to start out with is just by cutting the ends off and cut it in half. And I just have a really sharp knife, and I'm just going to rock this back and forth just so we can get it cut down on both ends.
It's hard.
It is hard. And then we're going to cut this in half. And then we're going to scrape out these seeds. And on the spaghetti squash, not a lot. And most of these little membranes will cook away, but we want to get most of the big stuff out.
It always surprises me how dry it is. It's not slimy like pumpkin.
It smells like pumpkin.
I can't say I like that smell. Can you roast those seeds like pumpkin seeds?
I think we can. I would plant them.
Why not?
Yeah, I'd plant them. Then we have our other one. We're going to scrape this out. And we're going to put just a little bit of water on the sheet pan, and we're going to steam this in the oven for about 30 minutes to 40 minutes, depending on how dense your spaghetti squash is or how big it is. You may need to go a little bit longer. So what we do is put a little bit of water on this pan.
I thought you were going to say we're going to put a little oil on here, and I'm like, what's
Nope.
your water bottle?
Just a little water, and then we're going to cover this with foil, and we're going to pop it in the oven. And I have
no
one.
Seasoning right now.
No
just
seasoning
water.
right now. And so I have one in there already. And we're going to pull that out in just a second, and we're going to get going on our marinara. Really quickly, this is a really simple marinara. We're going to start by warming up our pan a little bit. This recipe has some nice fresh spinach. It has some nice mushrooms. And whatever kind of mushrooms you want to use in this is fine. We're using some brown cremini mushrooms today. If you have some domestics, that's fine. If you have some that's already sliced, even better. So we're just going to slice these up and we're going to get these sauteed as soon as our pan gets a little warmer. So we're going to start out with just a little bit of olive oil in our pan. And we have some chopped garlic that we brought today. So I'm not chopping any garlic today, but we have some chopped garlic. We have our little bit of olive oil, about a tablespoon or so. We're going to start with our garlic. We're just going to let this cook very quickly. Not to brown it, but just to season this oil. Then in go our mushrooms. Oh, that's popping everywhere. In go our mushrooms. And then we have our fresh spinach that we're going to add in here. About a cup. We're going to chop this down just a little bit. It will get into really small pieces and swivel up as we're sauteing it.
I think that's nice the way you cut it because there's not going to be a big long string in there. That smells so good.
And the garlic, yeah, it's really delicious.
There's already some caramelization on the bottom of the pan.
So we're going to get these, and a lot of times the mushrooms will soak up most of that olive oil. Hopefully you guys can see some of that.
Ooh, that smells good. The
mushrooms, smells delicious.
Spinach, and no carbs yet in there.
And then we're just going to add to this our canned tomatoes. We have some diced canned tomatoes today. If you want to use a little puree, you could, or some tomato sauce.
I'm going to use puree because I've got some in my pantry.
Yeah, use puree. You might want to thin it down a little bit with a little veggie stock and a little water.
Okay.
So we're going to add our tomatoes with the juice.
Get all that juice gets up those brown, tasty bits.
And if this all soaks up while we're cooking it, we'll just add a little bit more water or a little bit more stock. And then as this reduces and gets nice and thick, we'll season it right at the end. After our spaghetti squash is done, we're going to let this simmer. We're going to throw it over to Jenny and let her do her nice, beautiful chopped salad that's going to accompany us today.
That looks beautiful. I'm always surprised at how far down the spinach cooks. I would have added like 3 times that much.
This one calls for a cup, and it almost looks like a little added greenery to this. It's not like a big component of it,
right?
But it has a lot of nutritional value too.
Sounds good. Okay, so Mike's put together this great chopped salad with bean recipe. The first thing I'm going to do is put together our delicious vinaigrette. Never need to buy it unless you really love your bought vinaigrette. So we've got 3 tablespoons of olive oil, 2 tablespoons of red wine vinegar, and you said that's the only thing not measured is the mustard.
It's the mustard and the seasoning.
Okay, so he's done all the work for me today. The Dijon mustard, I'm kind of loving Dijon mustard these days. I might put a little bit more than anybody really wants. And then I've got garlic, 1 clove minced. Here we go. And we're going to drizzle in the olive oil. My favorite thing, and I know one of yours too, is just use a ball jar and shake the heck out of this.
And having a nice Dijon in there helps emulsify that. It'll stay a little thicker longer.
Yes.
It's really nice. I love using Dijon in the vinaigrettes too.
You
really don't need it, but it does add a little flavor to it and has an emulsifying power to it.
There's a reason that classic vinaigrette is what it is. It tastes so good. I love putting shallots in the vinaigrette, some fresh thyme. And then I'm actually going to taste this before I season it with salt and pepper. A little bit in there. Tastes really fresh and nice. Okay, I'm happy with that. Mike has been really great to go ahead and chop things for me. I'm just finishing up the red onion here. I don't like to get big chunks of red onion, so I've diced it pretty small. There we go. And I'm not going to tempt fate with that little piece there because it's not my knife. Or I'm going to put it here first. So I've got my half a red onion. You can leave that out if you want to, but it sure does add a little bit of flavor. Onion to me is like salt. You put onion in something and it just like brings out so many flavors. So
I don't think you can have a chopped salad without an onion. I mean, you need that onion in there for a chopped salad. Any kind of onion.
All right, so we've got what looks to me like 2 cups here, but we're going to do all this lettuce. And I'm not going to use a knife. I'm just going to rip it because if some of this is left over, then the edges where the knife hit won't brown. We'll split that up. Make sure it's in bite-sized pieces, the bigger leaves. And make sure you have a bowl that can handle the tossing. Gotta have the right tools. All right, and then we've got cucumber. It says a cup, but I'm gonna cut up some more because we really like that. This way, flat surface. Gotta get rid of the end because I know you don't like the ends. Am I right?
Who does? Who likes the ends? Nobody likes the ends.
Okay, so just all about the same size pieces. That's the name of the game on a chopped salad. You want to get the same size pieces in there. Feel a good amount. And then we've got our tomatoes. All we did was take this whole cherry tomato and cut it in half. That's easy enough. These are already cut up because Mike is an overachiever today, much to my happiness. And then we've got beans. This is the protein Mike was talking about. So plant-based protein with lots of nice fiber. Fiber slows down digestion. It helps with that rise of blood sugar. I'm going to add them all in. They're drained. So these are canned and drained. You can also rinse your beans if they're canned, get some of that sodium off. And you could also make them from dry, you know, imagine that. But I would say we have this ongoing discussion we do, the culinary team and I, about dry beans. And when I buy dry beans, I look at them and make sure that they look good.
Yeah.
Because not always are the dry beans what I want them to be when I get home.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're not the same as you get them out of the can.
Right.
Definitely.
So now we have this wonderful red pepper that's going to add that sweetness. I'm going to cut up a little bit more of that. I think we all like it here, right? We all like it. We've got one of our interns back with us, Nicole. So if you were watching, Nicole, which show did you do with us?
Buffalo chicken dip there.
The buffalo chicken dip and Parmesan
Oh, the
chips.
Parmesan chips. I forgot about that. Those are really good too.
We were feeling cantankerous that day, and we said one of you interns needs to be in this. And so there were 3 interns that day, and they all pointed toward Nicole. And so she got up here and did that. I'm never worried about the seeds of a bell pepper. So if a few get in there, big deal. They look, right?
No, they're not really spicy.
I feel a little unwieldy with this knife.
What does that mean?
Like I'm going to chop a finger off.
No.
No. Mike says no, that's not going to happen. All right, and then I've got some parsley, and I'm just going to rough chop that. I don't like the big stems, so I get that out of there. Throw that in there. That's really for some nice depth of color. And then I already have this onion finely chopped, almost minced. And I'm just going to toss that around with my hands because I don't have a big enough bowl, I don't think. There we go. Do that. I'm going to throw all that dressing in there because I know this salad is big enough I can handle it. If you're not sure, don't throw all the dressing in. Put a little in, toss it, and then see where you are. Oh, look at that. That's beautiful. Jinx. We're going to have a good lunch today. Now, if you're going to make this salad this big, I'd say don't dress it. You know, just keep it in your fridge and take it out as you need it. All right, how's the marinara going? Mike?
Marinara looks good. I think we're about there. I'll show you how we got this spaghetti squash off. And if you can tell, I think by looking at this, we're simmering down a little bit. The tomatoes are starting to get a lot softer. But a marinara classically has some like chunky tomatoes in it. So we still have some chunkiness in these. We haven't seasoned this at all yet. I can smell the garlic in here. It's really prevalent. So we're going to add just a little bit of salt and pepper. And like some Italians, they finish it with a little bit of olive oil. So we're going to have just a little splash of olive oil at the end.
I love that. Why do I love that so much? Is it because of the fruity aroma?
It's a classic Italian move right there. So we have this beautiful sauce, and this is ready to go as a marinara. And now we're going to pick apart this spaghetti squash. And this was baked for about 30 minutes. And I always test them by just giving them a little push to make sure they're nice and soft. So I'll hold this in my towel. And we're just going to start working this spaghetti squash out of here.
Ooh, look at that.
And I try to get it all in the bowl. And then we fork it up into the nice strands.
Oh, look, it is. It's so nice. Look at that. Ooh. Well, I'm excited about this.
So, and this was a small one too. If you get a hold of a large one, I mean, that's a lot of spaghetti squash. And a lot of people like to bake these with ingredients in them.
Sorry, I'm all up in your
you're
grill.
doing great.
Love that.
So this is nice and strandy,
Yes,
which we like.
So
it's not mushy. If you can just see when you're baking this, if you can see if it starts to pull away from the sides, really nice. You've steamed it just enough to be able to get it out and have a little texture to it. Like I say, these are going to be different than pasta, but just appreciate for what they are. Kind of like when you do the zoodles.
Yeah.
You know, they're different than pasta. You're trying to mimic the same thing there. It's not going to have that texture, but the flavor is remarkable, and especially if you have a nice marinara sauce on here. Just appreciate it for what it is.
So I'd love to know of those that are willing to chat, like, is spaghetti squash in your regular rotation? And if it is, do you cook it differently? And what do you put on it? How do you eat it? I'd love to know. Now, I make a whole spaghetti squash, cool it, put some of it in the fridge, and just use it, you know, at every meal. I'd have this in the morning with my eggs. I would maybe a little Parmesan cheese sprinkled over.
You strand it first? You scoop it out?
I think I would strand it just like this, cool it, and then store it in a Tupperware. I could do a side dish with it. I could put it in a bowl for lunch. I could put it on salad. Just keep it cold and not heat it up.
I bet this would make a good like veggie salad.
Yeah, some vinaigrette on there.
Vinaigrette on there and some shredded veggies. And that would be really nice. Some fresh herbs, almost like a tabbouleh kind of thing.
I'm totally going to do that.
That would be good. So we have our spaghetti squash. I like using that a lot warm right when it comes out because you have that great flavor and a great texture. So we have our sauce. It looks really good. Not too runny. It's nice and chunky.
Yeah.
If you like this runnier, you could add a little bit more tomato sauce to this. If you like it more runny, or just let it cook down and the tomatoes start to dissolve and you get a little bit more sauce. So we're going to take some of our little sauce and put right on our spaghetti squash.
Yeah, I love that. That looks so pretty too. So Cam, you've been awfully quiet. Do we have a quiet chat, or have we had any questions?
We haven't had too many questions. We had a question about what kind of beans we used in the salad. I said any beans would work.
Yes.
I really like chickpeas in my salads, or garbanzo beans.
There it goes.
But any type would really work well.
Yeah.
Let's see. Lindsay said she joined late. Were there any tips shared about cutting the squash? That's why she doesn't eat it a lot. So maybe you can go through that.
Yeah, it is a difficult.
Gotta be careful.
A difficult item to produce. So we talked about cutting the ends off with a knife, a sharp knife, or even popping it in the microwave for a few minutes. It will soften the skin, so you can cut through it. Some people actually roast them whole. It takes a little longer, but you can certainly roast it whole, and it'll soften the skin a little bit. And then you cut it in half and start dishing up. And then you have to separate the seeds from the rest of the strands in there. But my tip is just to get a sharp knife. Take your time. If you need to hold it with a towel while you're working your knife down through the ends of it, and stand it up and cut it down in half, and then lay it down on the sheet pan and roast it. That's the preferred method I've always used, and I've seen other chefs do it that way too, and it comes out really strandy. And you can really monitor the temperature and the softness of it when it's done that way. So you can just pick it up out of the oven and look at it. Some people do actually cut it in half and drop it in boiling water to cook like regular pasta. But as I mentioned before, sometimes the inside cooks before the outside next to the skin. I've never seen anybody peel it and then cook it, but that probably wouldn't be a bad process either if you could steam it, if you had a steamer pan to be able to do that. But those are my tips. Anyway, it usually comes out really good. Oh, then we have the Asiago. I forgot all about the Asiago.
I didn't.
So we have the Asiago, just a drizzle on here. This would look nice with some fresh parsley too, or another drizzle of olive oil on the plate if you're going to serve that. But I hope you like this one. I hope you give it a try. Spaghetti squash is usually available most of the year. It's usually out there, and it's really healthy. A lot of people cut it in half and fill it with stuff and bake it, whether it's a rice dish or a ground beef dish or ground turkey. There's tons of recipes out there for baked spaghetti squash, and it is a great alternative if you're cutting down on pasta, but it still does have, I think it's right around 10 carbs per serving on
so
a spaghetti
low.
squash.
Not going to move your blood sugar. So what I did was I took the rest of that vinaigrette and put some of the spaghetti squash in here with some pepper. I'm going to do that for sure.
We have a new recipe.
I'm going to add cooked quinoa. So I'm going to put that in there. And then I'm going to use some of this chopped veggie kind of thing. The tomatoes,
I bet you that would be delicious.
and the Asiago in here. This is delicious. I'm going in for my second or third bite.
Well, I hope you give this a try. The chopped salad too. You could throw a lot of different veggies in there. These are chopped salads are usually great around the summer, fall months because you have all this great farmers market produce. The tomatoes, the beans, if you can put some yellow peppers in there, some spicy yellow peppers, even better. So give it a try. I hope you like it. Let us know if you've tried any of these recipes and if
how
you
you
have any
use it.
tips.
You know, how you are using it as a side dish. In my house, we would add probably some sauteed chicken tenders to this plate or even to the salad. But this is a great start for meal prep as well.
You could probably even try this with a little bit more sauce and put it in a casserole dish and do like a baked spaghetti kind of thing. I bet you that would be really good as well with a little bit more cheese on the top or some other veggies in it. I would try that as a baked spaghetti too.
All right. Well, as usual, you've given us some great recipes and recipes that can be adapted to our own preferences. We thank you all for joining us today on Diabetes Friendly Cooking Demo. And we will be back in a couple of weeks. The second week, what are we? With the end of January, we'll be back the second week in February. And we'll be looking forward to talking about Valentine's Day at that point.
Ooh.
So stay warm, stay dry, and eat some healthy comfort food. Bye-bye.